and welcome to another episode of Chattin' Stats. My name is Richie Stevens. You know me. I'm the host of this magical lit RPG, progression fantasy, everything podcast essentially is what it's become at this point. And today, I'm joined, I can't say as always, because someone slept through the damn episode last week. Joel Harvey.
Happened.
Joel, how we doing?
Me, I am fantastic. I'm ready to talk some progression fantasy.
Some progression fantasy is what you're ready to talk. I don't know
Yeah.
if this series is going to be progression fantasy, but we are going to have to
Well-
get that answer from our two lovely guests joining us. Actually, is it three? Because we have like the alter ego for one of them.
We can count it as three. It's more fun that way. I
We'll
mean,
count it as three. Do you have the sunglasses?
Huh?
You have the sunglasses for?
I got
when-
different sunglasses this time.
That works. Joining us for I think the fifth time. This might be. I think this is a Five Timers Club episode.
Oh, wow.
I think this is a Five Timers Club episode. Joining us is HB Holo / ED Sky and the second guest, her writing partner and significant other, Jacob Holo. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing very well.
Doing great.
We are so happy to have you guys on board, and we have some people already in the chat with, yo, hi peeps, and always with the spicy books. Spicy books are fantastic.
Always,
And we got
always.
Sam over on Twitch. Sam, how we doing tonight? If you are watching on Facebook, please be sure to go to streamyard.com/Facebook, just so that way we can see you. Looking in the chat, our Facebook user is AR Holloway. Aaron, we love you, buddy. Thank you for joining us today. And we got Paul in the chat. Whew. So the last time we
party
had you
now.
on, we got a party now. We got a party. So HP, last time we had you on the episode, it's when we had Daryl and Jessica, your two lovely narrators from Royal Guard Publishing, on to talk about Titan Mage, which that series is now complete.
Complete-ish.
Complete-ish. There's the side stories. We're getting those now, which are
The first arc is complete.
okay.
There's more in the works. We got stuff coming out.
Oh, we can see there's plenty of stuff.
Oh, there's-
I opened Facebook the other day next to my girlfriend, and she enjoys the occasional spicy stuff. I just got her a new book and a subplot of a romance, dark romance.
Mhm.
I don't know how she reads it, but she says the same thing about me. And it was for the Monster Punk Horizon Monster Tamer series.
yes.
That cover showed up, and I was like, "Oh, we're gonna have to talk about that
Oh,
here
yeah.
soon."
Because that comes out in May. May?
It's gonna be so.
Yeah,
Which,
that comes out in mid-May. Yep.
Summoning
Oh, Dazzle's
Zeckler.
singing behind me.
Summoning Zeckler. Hopefully Zeckler's here because that way he'll be happy. We're getting more Monster Punk Horizon, and of course, the kitten of the hour, Dazzle.
He was yelling at the door. So, are
He's
you going
gotten
to be
so
antisocial
big.
today? Are you going to be? What are you doing?
He's gotten so big.
Delightful, Dazzle. Just show everybody everything. Yeah, he's gotten huge. He was this big 4 months ago. Like, we could fit him in our palms, and now he's a man.
He big boy.
Oh, yeah.
I remember the first time that I actually met him, he like crawled up into like the bend of my elbow and like fell asleep there, and he could fit right there. And he can't do that anymore.
We did do a Dazzle episode like way back, not on here, but on our other show. But yeah, Dazzle, within 5 minutes of meeting Jacob, he was all curled up and asleep. Of course, he'd had a very traumatic day. So
Did you guys find him at a construction yard?
my cousin's boyfriend found him at their construction site, and he brought he basically informed her about it. And this said cousin of mine has a habit of bringing home animals, and still lives with her mom. And her mom didn't even see the cat, but saw the new litter and whatnot in the kitchen, and just yelled, "We are not getting another cat," because they already had like 3 cats by a similar process at this point. And so she texted me and was like, "I know it's really soon after Nova, but I have this little kitten." And we had not intended to adopt so quickly. I think it was
you were originally pushing against it. I'm like,
Yeah.
and I already had a sense for where this was going.
Yeah.
Like, let's go. Let's
2
meet
days.
the cat.
Yeah.
and that's all it took. The next day we picked him up.
Yeah.
Which
But it was literally 2
do-
days after we had after Nova, and yeah, we instantly fell in love with him. He's a sweetheart. He's chaos, but that
I was gonna say we know, you know, we miss Nova. Nova was such a bright part of the Holo writing team, and of course we always love seeing the about the author, and of course there's Nova's picture in all the books and everything. We love that. But we're happy Dazzle is healthy and big, and like, he seems to be tempting fate sometimes by wanting to lick the electrical bike's wheel. Is that the post earlier?
He successfully licked a light bulb last week and hopefully learned a lesson from it. Earlier today, Jacob was on the spin bike and he was trying to lick the wheel as it was turning. What else has he done? He likes to chew on electrical cables, so that's a thing.
That is Hermes.
He stopped that.
Oh, has he stopped? Okay.
Yeah. He hasn't tried to eat the electrical cables for a couple months now.
He is continually pushing his limits and testing his limits.
So Hermes, the cat I held up for you guys earlier, Maddie's baby boy, has a fantastic little idea that he wants to sleep behind my PlayStation 5.
Oh,
because I have it.
It's like the warmest place in the house.
It's got to be. He just curls up behind it. And we actually moved our TVs. So my TV is now closer to our Maddie and I's bedroom, and her TV's like closer to the guest room. We just kind of flopped them. Joel, I think it's changed since the last time you were down here. He's like, oh, Dad's PS5 moved. So now I have to move where I sleep. And I was like, you little shit. Because Maddie's is where mine was. And he wants to apparently just has a fascination with my PlayStation for some reason. But it is what it is.
Sometimes cats just have their favorite people too. That makes a difference. Because Jacob was Nova's favorite, but Dazzle is definitely mine, or I am definitely Dazzle's, which sometimes does not work in my favor. But
no.
He likes to come and sit on my chest at 3 a.m. and lick my lips.
Yep, that's Hermes. Yeah. Hermes like curls up in a ball and like just nuzzles his way in and will paw at you to move your arm just so he can get to where he wants to be, and then you just have to accept it. So
I don't think I've had a complete night's sleep in 4 months, but fortunately I go back to sleep fast.
So, we got a question in here for someone who hasn't read your stuff. What do you two write? So, who wants to go first on that one, Jacob or HP? Let's introduce yourselves for our
I guess
people who haven't seen an episode with you guys.
Ladies first.
Okay. Well, collectively, we have 3 different pen names, and as HP Holo, I write fun fantasy adventure. Monster Punk Horizon is my big series right now under that name. It is semi-clean. I mean, there's bad language or whatnot in it. My Edie Sky pen name is not semi-clean. It's my smut pen name. And so I write spicy harem fantasy adventure as Edie Sky.
Keep going. I'll be right back.
And it used to be it's always been a little bit collaborative, but with the most recent series, it has expanded to include a lot of Jacob's work. And so, and we're definitely going to talk about that today, because the book right next to Jacob is a piece we collaborated on under the Edie Sky pen name. And Ava, what are you doing? Chill out. He keeps messing with the door. And but yeah, as Edie Sky, we wrote Titan Mage. We've got Blood Knight coming out. We've got Monster Girl Tamer coming out. Oh yes, the canvas.
The canvas.
Yes.
For the second Titan Mage book.
Oh yes. I've been considering putting canvas merch on our store.
I think it would, as someone who prefers canvases over posters, just because one, they look a little nicer.
Yeah.
I mean, I love a good poster. Don't get me wrong, but I just prefer canvases. Now, granted, when Maddie moved in, she goes, "You're taking that down." I was like, "Fair."
Got to put it in a secret room.
It's been in my dresser drawer. It's been in like the top dresser drawer, just because I was like, nothing really goes in here. I'll just put that in here.
You could put it in the background of your podcasts. There we
Well,
go.
see, Paul is gonna make us once we get our new logo and up and everything. It's gonna go right here.
Oh, cool.
We're getting like a logo and everything, so that way, like, it lights up. I think is what Paul said he was gonna do. I don't know.
Ooh.
He's doing something. It's gonna be fun though. I want to get an on the air type thing, but I also need to redo this entire studio because now that I'm actually able to make money, I need to actually upgrade this a little bit.
Jacob, have you haven't introduced yourself yet?
No, I have not. I was waiting for an opening.
Jacob, go ahead. Introduce yourself. Go ahead. Just let me just shut up.
Dazzle's climbing the door.
Yeah. Dazzle's like is trying to climb.
I'm just gonna go while we have an opening here. So okay, my name is Jacob Holo. I primarily write science fiction. I do dabble in fantasy, urban fantasy in this case. I'm best known for co-authoring the Gordian Division series with David Weber, and I will be working on some more projects with David, including a trilogy of Honorverse novels featuring Edward Saganami.
So very different from what you just wrote.
Yeah, pretty different. Yeah, but yeah, like Heather said, the Edie Sky pen name has really from the beginning been a collaboration. It's been primarily her. What do we have here?
Just describing our backgrounds.
Yes.
Okay. Well, okay. So, I had this, someone had gotten, I don't even remember who got me this, but it's a white bow tie, but it's blood splattered. And there are only so many places and opportunities that you have to wear a blood splattered white bow tie. I figured this is one of them. So I was like picking out what bow tie I was going to wear. And I reached for this one. And there was like a part of my brain that said, no, you shouldn't. But then there was like that Palpatine voice that said, do it. So I just went for it.
So before I let Joe,
I've been quiet just because I've also been looking for an entry, and it's
you don't get an entry. You slept through the last episode. You just have to sit there and suffer.
Hey, I'm totally fine with just looking good and just laying back and taking it easy.
I will say before we let Joel take over to ask the first official question. Jacob,
put all that pressure on.
I did not realize it was a blood splattered tie. For
I
some reason,
either.
You gotta get one up.
I thought it was a Lilo and Stitch tie because I thought it was like Lilo's like dress.
Oh yeah,
that's what it looked like. And I was like, okay, all right, we're going. That's like a Disney bow tie for a adult show.
No, this is not Disney appropriate.
It is not. Now that we have described it, it is not. But Joel, my friend, go ahead and take over. What questions do you have to ask?
Your new book. Let's talk about that. And I guess the first question should be, is it spicy?
Oh yeah. Everything we're releasing under the 80 Sky name is spicy. Because the thing is, when I first started writing as HP Holo, I wrote some young adult stuff. And we created the 80 Sky pen name because I wanted to get into spicy writing, but I didn't want the youths to stumble upon things that they shouldn't.
Which Aaron asked that question.
We can definitely get to that too. There's a whole story there. And so we created the 80 Sky pen name exclusively for the spicy stuff. And I was like, you know what? If I'm going to create an entire new pen name for this, may as well go all the way and make it smutty as heck. So everything written under 80 Sky is smutty as heck. The HP Holo and Jacob Holo stuff, not so much. But yeah,
smut.
It's accurate. That is by far the most popular cover that we've released thus far. Though the Blood Knight covers are giving it some.
Emma over here. I think she's gonna give Ember a run for her money.
Oh yeah.
So Ember is my favorite girl, obviously from the Titan Mage. Redheads. What? No, that's not Richie's kryptonite. What the hell? Emma Stone, Amy Adams. You know, like the list goes on.
Yeah.
So, I guess maybe this would be a good opportunity just to say a little bit about the premise of the book. So, Blood Knight Vampire Slayer is, pardon me here, it is harem urban fantasy, and involves the main character. His name is Clark. He has a kind of a mind control hex that is removed, and he realizes that there's a lot of supernatural going on in the world that most humans are blind to, and that vampires secretly run the world. And he is a blood knight. He is descendant from basically the greatest line of vampire slayers the world has ever seen. And he decides to take up the basically answer the call of his blood, so to speak. And he has, as Heather has liked to phrase it, a tactical harem to assist him in this endeavor. So you basically have 5 college students taking on the vampires who run the world, who control the world from the shadows, and it's a heavy lift.
Because they're college students. We need to answer Aaron's question at some point too.
We will get to that. Aaron, your question is there. Please stick around because we are getting to that.
Heather, this is not your podcast. We should let them direct which questions we should be answering.
HB has been a 5-timers, which I think we only have one other guest who's been the 5-timers. Like, so she's officially like the unofficial 4th member of Stats on Stats, Chattin Stats, whatever we're calling ourselves. She's a member of the channel now. So.
Am I supposed to be saying something? I forgot what the question was.
It was just about what the book was about. Which, Jacob, was there anything else you were wanting to add on to the?
Oh, that was just the high level view.
Yep.
All right.
There's a whole story behind how it happened.
Super interesting way to do the hidden, urban fantasy. Is everyone has hex on them, and that's what's hiding the creatures. Sounds interesting.
So the basic mechanism is that you have one of the things that the vampires are good at is essentially mind manipulation magic, and they're also able to deploy it in very effective means, such as mass media. So they can embed spells into movies, into books,
social media.
And so as as people consume that, they're being hit by these spells, and so it's not like a vampire has to go to each individual person. There is a distribution mechanism that keeps the populace relatively ignorant.
All right. We did have a question from Samuel over on our Twitch channel. He asks, is the lineage from Van Helsing? I mean, the main character's lineage is Blood Knight. So is the lineage related to our favorite vampire hunter from, the Dracula stories, or?
That is actually a part that I should have the answer to that, but I
is it a spoiler?
There are some spoilers involved in where Blood Knights come from.
Okay.
That gets explored in book 4, which I have not written yet.
Gotcha.
I've written through book 3, and I have a basic outline for books 4 and 5, which will complete the series.
Okay.
So I know where all the major beats are going, and we've seeded things in book 1 that will have payoffs in book 5.
Yep.
Similar to what we did with the Titan Age books. But in terms of Van Helsing was probably a Blood Knight. Yeah, he probably was a Blood Knight.
Now, is it Hugh Jackman's Van Helsing?
Oh, you know what?
I don't know. I want to
Yeah,
rewatch that now.
yeah.
People
the
shit
huge-
on that movie constantly,
It's
but
so
that is
fun, though.
it is one of my guilty pleasures. Like, yes, the lighting in the movie is awful, but when you have Van Helsing going up against Mr. Hyde at the beginning of the movie, come on.
You know,
That
for
was
for all of its flaws, of
Mhm.
which I'm sure we could name quite a few of them, I had fun with watching that movie. I enjoyed that movie thoroughly.
it's a fun
I
movie.
watched it multiple
Yeah.
times. I enjoyed it so much.
I did a lot of writing to its soundtrack around the time.
You
it
know
came
what?
out.
I
It has
did
a great
too.
soundtrack, too.
I for a period there, I would put its soundtrack on a loop, and I would write to that.
And for
Mhm.
the CGI for what 2003, 2004, like that was it
Yeah,
looked
that was
good.
legit.
Yeah,
It
was.
looked really good. Plus that cast.
Oh yeah,
Mm,
top tier.
mm. Let's see. We had another question. Have you guys read Aragon?
I have read the first and second one. I think I used to work in young adult services at my
think
local
I have it
library,
around here
so it's
somewhere.
required reading, you know. But
I've only read the first two. I think I only read the first two because by the time Bryce Singer came out, I had lost
yeah,
interest
it
in
took so long to come out. Like I feel like some of the audience aged out
Mhm.
because the final books took so long to come out. But
And I mean Murtaugh just came out and I mean it's
oh yeah,
selling really good and I mean hey,
yeah.
I'm happy Christopher Poloni is still writing
Oh
because
yeah.
he's a good
Yeah.
author.
I
I
find
never
out
went
a lot too. I'm so behind on all of my reading ever.
it's it's almost like running a podcast has kind of ran my
Mhm.
backlog through the trenches.
And my challenge is I spend so much time writing that I don't have as much time to read anymore. And when I do read, I tend to like to analyze it, and it takes real effort to turn my brain off when I read, and that is a challenge in and of itself. But in terms of reading Aragon, whenever I was working at the library, I started the somewhat nasty habit of only ever reading the first book in a series. And because there were so many young adult novels coming out at the time, there was no way I could keep up, and I had to be able to recommend things to people. And so I would only read the first book because if you're going to recommend a series, all you really need to know is the vibe of the first book. And it just kind of stuck with me. And I very rarely read second books anymore.
I have not had time to actually just really sit down and read. I'm still trying to finish up Quest Academy.
Hmm.
And I'm like, if the book doesn't have an audio, like it's gonna take me a minute to get through it just because I have so much time. And now that I'm in the process of narrating, it's even
Oh yeah,
harder. It's
yeah.
even harder. So I go and
That's
work 50 to
your
60
reading, but
hours a
it's
week,
different.
and then I come and stand in this booth for an hour to 2 hours a day just to try to get stuff going, and it's hard. Anyways, so the book is coming out later this week, right?
It's coming out on Thursday.
14th.
And then
Okay.
we've got book 2 is already up for pre-order. Book 3, we just got the cover for book 3.
Aaron,
So
we're gonna get to it. I
that will be, oh
promise.
yeah, we need to answer Aaron's question.
Aaron, we're getting to it. I promise. I promise.
Okay, I'm following your lead, Richie. I see it though. But it's going to be a 5-book series, and so our current release schedule right now is Blood Knight number 2 next week, or Blood Knight number 1 next week. Monster Girl Tamer is going to come out in May. Blood Knight 2 is going to come out in July. And then we initially were going to spend this year releasing a book every 2 months, and quickly found out that my brain will not do that, because we made the decision, and then I sat down to actually attempt it. And I do all of our layout and marketing and cover design and stuff. Literally the only thing I don't do is the cover art, because I commission illustrators for that. And I was trying to write Monster Girl Tamer while laying out Blood Knight in both print and ebook form, and it was just too much. And it occurred to me that I would basically, between each release, I would have 1 month to write, and then I would have another month tied up in other stuff. So the next book in Blood Knight is going to release 3 months after book 2. I can't even remember what I have pre-orders up for now. And then the last 2 in the series are going to release next year. And then we have the last 2 Monster Girl Tamer books that will come out after those 2, and then we are getting back to Titan Mage. So there's a ton of stuff coming out. So
that's exciting.
I popped over to Amazon real quick. It looks like May 16th is when Monster Girl Tamer will release, which I do have a question about Monster Girl Tamer.
Yeah.
Will we be seeing Tess Irondale again?
No, it's going to be, but it is going to be Daryl Mayfield and Jess Trepanier again.
All right.
The same people who did Titan Mage. And I can't remember. I did suggest Tess, but I think she was either busy or there was something that kept her from working on that project. But I do like the narrators that we've gotten.
That's okay. I mean, if it's Daryl and Jessica, I'm okay with it because they are fantastic and they are doing a great job. I'm actually re-listening to book 4 of Titan Mage just because I was going through the series again. And when I work very long days, I can do that.
Mm-hmm. We've gotten a few previews of their work on Blood Knight, and we've also gotten a few bloopers from them, which are
the bloopers are spectacular. I've got the bloopers on the Patreon right now, and they're wonderful. And I think they're pretty close to finishing the recording for Blood Knight too, based upon
they've been sending us scenes from like the last 3 chapters. So
I don't know what the release date is for it, but it's pretty soon.
I was gonna say, do we have like a general release window of when they're possibly gonna release?
I'm not sure, but it's probably going to be within the next month or so. Just guessing.
Sweet, because Titan Mage is fantastic. For those who haven't read it, if you want just a fun, transactional relationship type deal, it's a good time and badass meckery. Come on.
Yes, I love my
meckery.
Oh, yeah, meckery. I said meckery, and I'm going with it. It's like catch. It's going to catch on, Joel.
Favorite word. There are no mechs in Blood Knight, but mechs keep sneaking into Monster Girl Tamer too, even though there are no mechs in the outline.
I didn't put any mechs in the outline, but there are already 2 of them in the first draft. So
2 of the Monster Girls basically have like one can manipulate plants and one can manipulate earth, and it's like they have transforming abilities, and logically they can make their own mechs if they want to. And so
all right, so
tell me which questions I can answer.
We're gonna answer Aaron's question from all the way back up top. Let me find it real quick. Where'd it go? There it is. How did you decide?
How did we decide to get into harem stuff?
Oh boy.
Well, this goes back several years, and once upon a time, since I do all of our marketing stuff, I spend a lot of time on Amazon analyzing also bots, for example. At the time, the Spy Kyle, at the time, Amazon would list on every book page, Amazon would list also bots, like if people who bought this book also bought.
Yeah.
And I was doing research on Jacob's Seraphim Revival series, which is another giant robot series. Basically, we describe it as what Xenogears, Evangelion, and Gundam Wing had a party in your brain, and that's what happened. And so I'm looking in the also bots, and there's a ton of novels with huge tits on the cover, and like the series was nothing like that. And so I was like, I'm curious, like what's going on here. And so I start pulling up these books to see what they have in common with our series. They didn't have anything in common with the Seraphim Revival except maybe adventure. But Jacob comes in and sees all of these hot girl covers on my computer screen and is like, "What you doing?" And eventually one of us, we start researching them and reading them just for fun. And I think at one point I made the comment where it was like, "Jacob, we're writing the wrong books." And I think at one point 2020 happened. Well, of course it did. And we were both between projects or some kind of random whatnot was going on that opened up a hole in our writing schedules. And you made the comment, or I made the comment, what, if you outline a harem series for me, I'll write it. I fully expected it to not happen, but then you had a stroke of inspiration and you come to me 2 days later with this harem series you suddenly outlined based upon the random harem novels we had read. Well, not based upon, but we learned harem tropes from several novels and enjoyed them, and Jacob came up with the outlines. Well,
just to get a feel for what the market was, what market expectations were.
Yeah, and there's a longer story there involving just like me having OCD and reconstructing my entire writing process whenever I think I've told that story before on previous ones, so I won't go too far into that. But basically, writing stories based on Jacob's outlines was part of an experiment to see how if that would help me increase my writing output. So I sat down. Jacob wrote the first few chapters of Titan Mage, but then I sat down and wrote the rest. And at that time, I was in a period where I was struggling to write. It had been years since I had just come out of. I released my first book in 2016 and spent just a long time working on the sequel, and it was a hot disaster. And a lot of it came down to inability to focus and things like that affecting the writing. But I sat down. It was really rough, and I sat down. And
that was the Wizard's Way.
Yeah, that was the Wizard's Way. And learning what we had learned, we basically took what we had learned about my OCD and how it was manifesting in my writing. And I sat down to write Titan Mage with all of my weaknesses in the back of my mind, thinking about how to thwart these weaknesses. And I went from not finishing a book in years to finishing Titan Mage in a month. Was it a month, Jacob?
About.
A month or two? It was pretty quick. And it was really, really cool because it was amazing to me to learn that I could still write. And I think I'd worked on Monster Punk Horizon in there somewhere too. It was also part of the let's rebuild the writing style or rebuild the writing technique.
Yeah, but there were extensive edits involved with those.
Yeah. And so Titan Mage, I sat down, I wrote that. We ended up coming up with a mech story because I really wanted to write a mech series. And what with all of the harem novels popping up on Jacob's mecha series, it seemed like there was a hole in the market that was not being filled. And we apparently found out. I did not intend that as a pun, but we were like, you know what? When writing a certain genre,
so that is that's our buddy John Klein. Hi John.
But yeah, we decided to write mechs and sex, and the rest is history.
If you look at the Venn diagram for people who enjoy mecha and the people who enjoy large-breasted women, it is close to a circle.
Yes.
So
there have been a few more mech harems, but I'm really surprised that it hasn't grown based upon the success of Titan Mage, because Titan Mage, like I had other harem authors tell me they were studying what I was doing, which was hilarious and flattering, because when I put up Titan Mage was a complete accident. Like the success of it was because I put book 1 up and didn't advertise it. I didn't plan on advertising until book 3 was out, because when you're spending ad money, you don't really get your spend back until you have a series out. But something happened. Like, I don't know if I just released it on a really good week or if the Amazon algorithm just liked it or something, but it started getting pre-orders like crazy without me really doing much. And so I'm curious to hear what other harem authors figured out from what they were watching me do, because I'm trying to reverse engineer it myself.
So I will, because we've gotten a few other questions in the comments before I pull those up. I will say, so going into Titan Mage, I didn't realize it was going to be a harem. And Zekler was actually the one who recommended it to me. And then I learned really quickly why. I was like, this writing style is very similar to a series I just read. And then Zekler was like, oh yeah, that's HP. I was like, I freaking knew it.
Yep.
I knew it. So when the audio came out, it came out, I think, right after I moved back to Indiana, and I had just moved into my room up at Joel's place. And I was sitting there, I was like, oh, whoa. Okay, because I didn't make it too far into the ebook. I didn't make it because with moving and switching jobs, just didn't really have time to read. But while I was sitting there gaming, I was listening to the audio, and I was like, oh my,
it's that kind of book.
All right, okay, all right, I can get behind this. I
think the origin of that first spicy scene was at one point Jacob basically turned to me and said, I bet you can't write a sex scene. So I decided to write the most ridiculous sex scene I could possibly come up with. So
was that it's the shower scene?
No, that was the sort of the light bondage scene with Bexley.
Oh,
the entire series.
Yeah. Which I mean, they have another one in book 2 where he like.
Are you talking about the one with the winches?
Where he puts her on,
on
the chain and the rolly chair.
I forgot about that one. Yeah, I basically the thing is one of my favorite things to encounter on the internet is people making fun of sex scenes in books, and sometimes I think it says more about the person making the comment than it does the actual sex scene, because it's like you can tell by some Facebook comments like who has never done any single interesting thing with their genitalia, like really. And there's a part of me that sometimes tries to write my spicy scenes to aspire to certain levels of ridiculousness. And there's a part of me that doesn't really care if they're realistic, because I want them to just be what you're shaking your head over there, Jacob.
Well, I'm just going to point out that the versions of the scenes that made it into the books are the ones where I tried to rein her in. Okay, try to introduce some measure of restraint.
I gotta see the note sheets for this. I gotta see the edits.
Do we still have?
You're gonna have to release an author's cut.
Yeah,
of the original.
I'll have to release an author's definitive edition.
No, just give it to Royal Guard and be like, hey, just include this as like a blooper or something.
Yes.
So, another comment. I've made this comment before when we had you on the show the first time, or no, the second time when we actually had you on as Edie Sky back in December of 2022. I remember that episode.
Yeah.
Because we had you on Halloween of 2022, and then we had you in December.
Yeah.
Because we had you actually on Halloween. We had our HP Holo on Halloween. That was our fun episode.
My favorite fun.
When it comes to spicy scenes and harem, I have delved through quite a bit of harem in my backlog.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some times where I'm like, wow.
Deviant.
Oh, God. If my mother watched this podcast, I'd be so grounded. Thank God she didn't take an interest. When reading some of these books, I was like, wow, these scenes are getting pushed a little too far.
Mm-hmm.
And how we get from point A to legitimately point B, it's like, wow, no, even though this is like a book and everything, like, really? That's what we're pushing for?
Mm-hmm.
All right. When reading Titan Mage for the first time, I was like, wow, okay, this makes sense. Like, Bexley, okay. Ember, all right. And then what is it? Elise, or not Elise? The captain, love her.
Yeah.
She actually might be my least favorite of the main crew.
She is one that I did not get to characterize quite as much, because the thing with her is that we basically decided that each book was going to revolve around a certain girl.
Mm-hmm.
And Alyssa's book was book 1, but it was also the book where we were trying to set up the world.
Yeah.
And so
it's also the shortest book.
It is the shortest book too. And so I hope to give her some more love in both, I guess, literally and in terms of characterization in the subsequent series. She is,
and that's the perfect time for me to pop up this one.
Oh yes, I do love my puns.
Oh, the puns are great.
But yeah, I didn't get to characterize.
Yeah, the puns are coming hard and fast.
We got Jacob in on it now. Yeah.
Yeah, that was intentional.
Oh, I know.
I'm just getting into the spirit of things.
But I will say, like, when reading like some of the scenes in Titan Mage and everything, it's like, okay, we know that we're not going to be pushing the boundaries super far. Everything like they're going to be reined in and control. Apparently, that's because of Jacob's reining you in.
The thing about the spicy scenes in Titan Mage is that I ultimately wanted to write a series that was fun on all levels, and so I wanted all the encounters to be positive and consensual. And there's some sex scenes are just uncomfortable to read because of how, I mean, it's like you said, how far they push sometimes. And so I oh my gosh, maybe that's excellent. But I completely lost my
one of the things that we tried to carry through from Titan Mage to Blood Knight is that that positivity.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that we tried to add to Blood Knight is a greater sense of romance between the leads.
Yes, because I think
as you mentioned, the at least initially the relationships are very transactional,
right?
In Titan Mage, and it's primarily that way because we thought that's what readers wanted.
Yeah,
and then we received feedback. It's like we would like to see more romance. It's like,
yeah. And
we can do this.
It's one of my favorite criticisms of Titan Mage because it turned out like we were reading a bunch of harem, like we were picking up a bunch of harem bestsellers when we first got into it, obviously, because we were checking out the big things. Yeah. And it turned out that what we were reading were really a bunch of old harem bestsellers, and the genre had evolved past the tropes, or not past the tropes, but past the particular standards of those books. And but it was delightful criticism because I had wanted to write something like romance to begin with, but left it out. And so there's definitely more romance in subsequent series that we're working on. Oh, bye, Aaron. I hope we answered your question sufficiently.
He had another question, so Aaron, we will answer that one here in a minute too. So that'll be in the VOD for you, okay? So no, and last night when I tuned into your guys' live, which was a fun live to listen to because I was sitting there playing Overwatch with my girlfriend and I had my mic muted just so I could listen while she was sitting next to me and communicating to our teammates. I was like, no, this is important. Overwatch can wait. This is important. When you brought up that the romance felt transactional and everything because obviously they did the whole contract, like binding at the beginning of the series. I was like, okay, like, all right, I see where this is going. I kind of like how this is going to turn out, which took me for a surprise. I love the ending of where the first arc, I guess, ends because Apocalypse isn't really the end of Titan Mage. It's just the end of
an arc. See, the thing is, we had expected Titan Mage to only be 5 books, but over the course of writing, I just fell in love with the world, and also it became my biggest bestseller ever. So I have like monetary motivation to continue it.
It's a good series. I mean, I got Joel to read it, and he doesn't normally do the harem stuff.
I mean, honestly, it reminded me a lot of like just.
It reminded me of anime.
It did. It reminded me of kind of like High School DxD in the fact that it was awesome action and also like a harem.
Badass girls.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That is absolutely one of the anime I was watching while I was writing it.
Oh, we can tell. We can definitely tell.
It's as much a love letter to giant robots to anime as it is to giant robots and sex. I mean, it's
which I mean, there's obviously like the little Easter eggs, and one of the comments, it reminds him of one of the animes he watched in the 90s.
Oh yeah, there Easter eggs.
I was like, is it Gundam or Evangelion? Which one are we referring to here?
It could be either. I can't actually remember all my Easter eggs, but yeah. So I was my brain's getting all tied up. But I had initially intended to continue Titan Mage, but Blood Knight kind of came out of the blue and became weird in our schedule, and so Let's see. Oh, we got. I keep getting distracted by the comments.
I know. I'm just popping them up. So.
I'm moderating myself that I keep wanting to click and highlight comments and stuff. So yeah. But in terms of Blood Knight, kind of came out of nowhere because, well, I mean, Jacob, you could tell the story of that, because yeah.
So where Blood Knight came from is that, okay, last year was overall a pretty bad year for me health-wise. I was dealing with some very severe nerve pain issues, and to the point where the pain was affecting my cognitive functionality.
Oh wow!
Where I was experiencing pain to the point where it would stop hurting because the brain was being overloaded with pain signals. And that is not a good place to be when you need to concentrate, because brain fog is how it was manifesting for me. And I got the injury healed, and then there was kind of a period where I was, to a certain degree, putting myself back together. I didn't write anything for 6 months.
Wow.
And then after that, I finished the the final third of the 6th Growing Division book, turned that in, and at that point, all of my contractual obligations with Bane Books were satisfied. And that was actually like the only book I've ever turned in late. And it was only 3 months late, and everything worked out in the schedule. So at that point, I'm sort of recuperating from all this stuff. And I took another break from writing, and then I started to feel the energy to write, and so I got back into it by just writing a few short stories, just to kind of work the muscle, so to speak. And the first thing that I wrote was like, I'm just going to do something completely off the wall, not sci-fi or anything, and I see how much fun Heather's having with the harem stuff. So wrote a short story that ended up eventually turning into the first 3 chapters of Blood Knight.
Woo.
So after that, let Heather take a look at it. We put it on her Patreon. It was well received by her readers, and then they're like, "So when's the book come out?" And I'm like, "Well, okay. Well, I guess let me work on an outline." And so I outlined the first book, and I had a bunch of stuff that I started planning out for subsequent novels. And then, got near.
Originally going to be a series that I was going to write once I finished Monster Girl Tamer and Titan Mage. But then
I'm like, I've got this opening in my schedule, and well, I've got like the first 9,000 words already written. I've got an outline already set up. I could just start this. So I did. And a month later, I had the first book.
All right.
And a month after that, I had the second book. So
he's a writing machine.
And then, a month after that, I had the third book. I'm taking a little bit of a break this month.
Yeah, for context.
So don't expect another book out of me in March. I'm taking a breather here.
I started Monster Girl Tamer like right before you started Blood Knight 1, and you're putting me to shame because I am still working on Monster Girl Tamer.
I wrote a 250,000 words in 3.5 months.
Yeah.
So
I'm typing now so that I can catch up with him, because previously I hand wrote, like I have my fountain pens and I would handwrite all my drafts and then dictate them in. But now I saw Jacob write 3 books while I did 1, and I was like, no, we're speeding up a little bit, especially since we have so many series that we want to get out. And yeah.
So I had a window, and I had, it also felt really good to do something entirely different.
Oh yeah.
Just as sort of a palate cleanser, I guess you'd call it.
Yeah, because the thing is, you're accustomed to writing hard sci-fi where you have to do math calculations to figure out how long it takes people to get places because of
yeah. Like the example that I like to throw out is like, okay, I need to get characters from point A to point B. It's like, all right, well, where are the planets? What acceleration characteristics does the spaceship have? Okay, are we going to be moving fast enough that time dilation is going to be a factor? All right, I need to do the kinematic equations and on and on and on. And for Blood Knights, like they got in the car, they drove to the place. They got out of the car. Next scene starts.
Yeah.
Okay.
So would you say you enjoy this process more?
I enjoy both the science fiction and I just enjoy the writing process in general. It's different. There's different thought processes that go into the design of a science fiction setting that has hard science as a foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times you're dealing with, okay, well, what kind of magic tricks are we going to introduce into the sci-fi setting, such as faster than light travel or artificial gravity, and but trying to keep it as grounded as possible on its foundation. Whereas with urban fantasy, it's like magic system. The magic system is the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Or I guess you'd say the real world is the foundation. Then you're building a magic system, as a separate layer. And so those two together form your foundation for the series.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So our good buddy Paul over here asks, so why are the signed copies of Titan Mage out of stock on the Holo?
Because I sold out. But I was waiting on a new shipment to come in before I updated them, and I actually just since I saw your question, I just updated my stock on my store, so they are now purchasable. So yeah, I had a whole bunch of books that sold out, and I was just waiting on them to come in, so they're good now.
All right, sweet. So that'll be up and running, and we're still getting through questions here because I'm trying to scroll
Lots of
on.
questions coming through.
So someone did ask about the Patreon setup because they're trying to set theirs up. Do you have any tips for setting up a Patreon for?
Oh yeah, sure. So what I did for our Patreon is I have a wide range of levels. I have a $1 tier for people who just want to basically throw tips at us. I have a $3 tier where everyone who signs up on the $3 tier and above gets like a little sticker pack, like very simple reward. That and simple like writing updates. I'll sometimes do AI generated art of the characters, stuff like that, and whatnot. And so really simple $3 tier. The next step up is a $15 tier, and people on the $15 tier get access to our novels as we write them. And part of that's honestly the best way to get our writing, because I kind of, to a certain extent, with Titan Mage, I was releasing Titan Mage as I was writing it, and by the end of Apocalypse, I hit significant burnout, and I didn't want to. If that was not a sustainable writing process, and so basically, I am writing exclusively to Patreon for the most part, and then only posting Amazon pre-orders once I get close to finishing books. That said, now that Jacob is writing under the pen name, with the two of us writing, we're going to have something out every 2 to 3 months anyway. But the $15 tier is the writing tier. And then the $15 tier is by far the most popular one. But I also have, next step up is a $25 tier where subscribers get signed copies of all the print books we release. And then the next tier, Froey B actually necessitated this tier because he somehow found a way to make his own tier, and we have a $50 tier now, where so you get all the previous rewards, and then you also get a Tuckerization, which basically means you get written into you make a guaranteed appearance in our stuff. And there's also a $100 tier. I don't think anyone has tried it yet. But it's just like, if anyone wants to give us $100 a month, like, I'm not going to complain. But But there's also, and certain tiers also, there's safe for work and not safe for work versions, because some of the art is very not safe for work. And so yeah, I basically the short version of how I structure Patreon is I try to offer stuff at a decent variety of spending levels. And we love you, Froeby. We're not poking at you. But yeah. I would like to put together a collector's edition of Titan Mage one day, but that is one of those in my copious amounts of free time things. Like we've had people ask for RPG games or like RPG rule sets for Titan Mage and Gundam style models for Titan Mage too.
That would be cool.
The closest thing that our readers are going to get to a Titan Mage RPG is the harem in Blood Knight. They're all gamers, and in fact, the scene that introduces most of them, they're playing a pen and paper RPG.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So they switch from that to Titan Mage, the role playing game, and so they actually in like book 2.
The comment is great.
Oh dear.
Jesus. Judas Priest, come on.
But there's a scene in book 2 where they're playing they're playing through Titan Mage book 1, a scenario based off of Titan Mage book 1.
And the challenge with the RPG rule sets, it's not that we don't want to do it, it's that we simply lack the time. Like the only way a Titan Mage RPG is going to happen is if someone licenses it from us, which is something I would definitely be interested in.
But we're not doing that ourselves.
Yeah, because first of all,
sounds like a lot.
Stats.
It's like, a lot of work, and I already have 2 jobs.
But one of the projects that I'm actually going to be working on once I finish Monster Girl Tamer, models like take them apart and build them. Models are not happening, but one of Jacob's co-authors on the or his sort of lore master on the Saganami series, we have discovered is a 3D printing nerd and is a really good source of information. And so I am basically chatting with him, learning the ins and outs of 3D printing, and I am going to be designing Titans for 3D printing purposes. And so a version of like there will be models coming out. I have to learn, like I have a mild background in art. I don't do art covers because it would take me way too long to do them.
Right.
But yeah, it's I intend to basically learn the ins and outs of 3D sculpting and 3D printing and make my own models that readers can then either download and print, or once I actually get my 3D printing setup done, I can print them and then ship them. And so that's I've got to get my skills.
Just to be clear, we are not committing to this in any sort of predictable time scale.
Yeah, this
is like a side project.
Take your time.
Guys, readers have been asking me for a Titan Mage map for, I want to say, the better part of a year, and I just now got the map out.
I need to see the map just because the map is
publicly now, because it's been up on the Patreon for a little bit now. But yeah, the map was an adventure, because the thing is, we when we wrote Titan Mage, we didn't make a map because we'd only expected it to be one series, and I didn't feel like keeping up with locations. And
I mean, we designed it to not really need a map, because they get into the airship, they go to wherever the action's happening, they get out the airship, and the mechs have their fun.
And
and then everyone wanted to see a map.
Yeah, the map has been the number1 request amongst all of my readers, and so I had to reread the series and make notes of where everything is. I actually have. Let me see if it's over here. I got a whole huge mess over here, but I had to go through, and I have all these Post-it notes. Can you guys see? Okay, so I had all of these little Post-it notes everywhere. This is actually not the original version, but I went through and had to measure everything out and figure out distances and whatnot, because I wanted it to be an accurate map, because since there are going to be more Titan Mage series, I wanted to, well, more popular than the Titan Mage waifu body pillows. I want to do body pillows, but haven't found a good way to produce them that is manageable for me. And so I've also had requests for the 3D ergonomic mouse pads and similar thing. I haven't found a provider that will produce proofs in a reasonable amount of time, and I don't want to buy a whole bunch of mouse pads and then get like 100 mouse pads and then them all be really crappy quality. And
I
so
need
that's
to order
the
me
hurdle
one
there.
of the playmats because I
Right.
just gotta figure out which one I want because all the playmats are so cool.
Oh yeah, the playmats were another piece of merch that people have been requesting, and so with our direct shop, we have access to all of these print-on-demand apps. So basically, if there is merch people want and there's an app for it on Shopify, I can make it. So that's been pretty cool.
I always recommended Gelato as the the print-on-demand for like t-shirts and stuff because they're really good.
I'm gonna have to try them then because
I will give you. We'll talk about that after.
Oh yeah,
that just came to my mind. So we'll take 2 more questions, real quick. We'll do Aaron's after we do Sam's because Sam asked Jacob, "What are your other jobs like? What do you do?"
All right. Well, so when I said I have 2 jobs, obviously one of them is and being an author, but the other one is I have a background in. A degree in electrical engineering. I have a background in the automotive industrial sector. I've worn various hats over the 20 plus year career in automotive industrial. I've been an electrical engineer. I've been a project manager, and my current position is basically a controls engineer. Position. I work at BMW at the factory in Spartanburg, and it is BMW is a great company. It's the best company I've ever worked for, and it's a great place to work. I love it.
All right. So, Aaron, I told him we would get to his question, so I'll have to make sure we tell him, hey, it's at the end of the video or towards the end. He asked, have you 2 considered switching to Ream? They have a solid romance and harem base of readings, they seem to like it. So
yeah, I'm actually in the process of building one. It's going to be in addition to the Patreon, rather than instead of the Patreon, but I am in the process of setting up a Ream account. And it's just a matter of right now I'm in the midst of a writing and release crunch because next week I've got to go through all the marketing for Blood Knight, and then I've got to just bang out the last 3 chapters of Monster Girl Tamer. So I've got that. And then I'll be able to get to some other little projects like uploading some more merch, like finishing up the Ream and stuff like that. And so, but it is in the works.
And so, I've got to edit like 70 to 80,000 words.
Yeah. And then I have to edit and bang out the chapters. Yeah, and then I've got to edit Blood Knight 2 and 3, and then do my part. And so, because they are like Jacob does the first drafts, but they are very much collaborative. And so yeah.
So I have a quick question regarding Monster Girl Tamer because obviously I've been excited to get back to the Monster Punk world just because it's such a fun universe.
I've been excited to get back to it myself.
You're in for a treat.
Oh, I bet. I'm pretty sure Zeckler has a clip of me freaking out when HP told us that she was going back to it. And then she said, it's going to be spicy. I was like, I don't care.
Oh, yeah.
I want it. I want it. It was already mildly spicy with, what is it, Jax, when she's wearing the goddess dress.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Just talking about her tits hanging out.
Yeah. Horizon definitely begins to lean into the sexual humor, even though there's no sex scenes in it.
No, it's like PG-13 crude humor. Yeah. It's a fun time. Will we see our favorite party duo in Monster Girl Tamer? Will they make any sort of appearance?
They will. They are the villains in book 2.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't know how
antagonists. I wouldn't say villains.
Villain is the wrong term, but basically, so the premise of Monster Girl Tamer, and this could actually be an episode in and of itself if you guys want to have us on for a 6th time.
Oh no, you're gonna be on. You're gonna be on for that.
Okay, yeah. Well,
I'm already planning that ahead.
Yeah, it's Pix and Jazz are not the main characters in Monster Girl Tamer because given the way that the harem genre is set up, there I couldn't really find a way to have a two female companion characters. And there needed to be, like, in harem, there needs to be a male lead somewhere, a significant male lead who collects girls, and Pix had already been established as having Killvester, so there was already background there. And so, and I didn't want to start writing, I didn't want to start changing up what I had established in Monster Punk Horizon. So the Monster Punk Horizon cast is still present, but they're more supporting characters. Okay. Monster Girl Tamer follows Axel Hunter Radcliffe, who is from a family that has they're basically a family of chosen ones. Like, someone in every generation is destined to be a chosen one that saves a world from something. And they never know what it is. They don't even know what world they're going to be on. The only thing that is consistent between them is they have one magic weapon, and they have to build what they call a tactical harem of basically hot female support staff that then helps them save the world from whatever the challenge is. And so he's in the opening chapter, he's sitting down with his dad, and his dad is giving him the talk, which for the Radcliffes means you got to save the world and build a harem talk. And then suddenly he falls through the dazzling skies, and he's like, well, this is unexpected. And eventually figures out that, he's fated to save this world from something, and his harem is also fated to be made up of monster girls. So he's got to figure out how to navigate that while also figuring out what exactly he's supposed to be defeating. And it's got plenty. And it has one of the biggest complaints about Monster Punk Horizon was that it did not have stats. So we found a way to fit stats into the world of Monster Girl Tamer now. I think that they literally, like, early in the novel. Sir, what the heck? Dazzle. He's knocking stuff over. But yeah, they literally hunt a monster, and the monster has the ability to see stats when they capture the gem. They plug it in. They got stat vision.
Yes. So, yay.
It's the silliest thing. But yeah, there will be stats. It will be an actual lit RPG. Jacob is handling
that was my contribution to the Monster Punk Horizon lore.
Yes. And so
the gem that allows the characters to see stats.
I tried to design the stats on my own, and I'm just so bad at it, you guys. So I'm glad I have an engineer husband, because I think every time I've tried to write the stats, Jacob has ended up changing them.
It's like, no, these numbers don't work. I'm going to fix them.
That's kind of like how
match with what you're having the characters do.
That's kind of like how Joel and I are, because I am not a numbers guy. Like, when it comes to mechanics and everything, not my forte. I like the characters. I like the development. He's my mechanics expert.
Well, see, the thing is, when I read lit RPG, I always skip the stats because I don't care. I'm reading for the characters and the action too. And when I wrote Monster Punk Horizon, I was like, surely there are other lit RPG readers out there who skip the stats, and there are, but it's not the majority of the audience. And
that's a common debate of, do we need the stat sheets constantly or anything like that? And my reply to that is, it's lit RPG. The stats do play a big part into it. I mean, if you don't like the stats, that's fine. Skip them. I'm an audio person. I like the stats, especially with me narrating a lit RPG and everything. I've had to come up with how am I going to do the stats for this book? Am I going to give it, or is there like an AI voice, or is there is it just the main character, reading, strength 40, dexterity 30, et cetera, et cetera. So, because I've seen, obviously we have Jeff Hayes with the AI voice for Dungeon Crawler Carl, where it's all AI. And then when we talked with Mr. Neil Helligers, shout out Neil, we love you. When we had him on to talk about The Good Guys and the Bad Guys by Eric Uegland, he reads them in the main character's voice because that's the main character absorbing this information. So there's many ways around it. I like that because it just adds an extra element to the book, and I can see how the character has progressed. I guess that's just me. That's me. But if the book doesn't have stats, I still consider Monster Punk Horizon a lit RPG because it's got the game elements and everything, and I love it.
It's very heavily game inspired. Like, it would not exist if I were not such a Pokemon and Monster Hunter nerd. Monster Hunter especially. And as the series goes on, it gets more non-monster specific influences. I designed the world so that I could basically pay reference to any nerd thing that happens in pop culture, and so it's very broad, even though it's at its heart it's ultimately written as a love letter to Pokemon and Digimon and all the monster collecting and hunting and befriending things.
Yeah.
Is it book 2 or book 3 that has the Dune references?
That's book 3. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
Jacob.
Dune references.
We collaborated on the we collaborated on these outlines as well, and I think I basically discussed what I wanted to happen, and then Jacob went and picked out some of the details. And they there's a reference late in Monster Punk Horizon to this place called the Hell Pits. That's this big desert where all the demon fae live. Mm-hmm. And there are, I can't remember if I paid reference to the desert worms initially or in the actual series, or if that was just a planning thing, but
that was a planning thing.
They have sandworms in the desert, and so it's like Jacob heard me talking about the sandworms, and there are sandworms in the outline for book 3, and now I have I may be adding a sandworm girl to.
That'll be an interesting. I can't wait to see the artwork for that one. That's going to be interesting because we have our goblin on the front of book 1.
Yes,
and she is adorable.
I love her. She is such a fun character to write. She is absolutely feral. But her, she's
taking a whole new energy to the feral goblin mode.
Well, I mean, it also, it plays into the entire premise is that these monster girls, they are a bit wild, and it is the responsibility of the main character to kind of rein them in to be their tamer.
Part of the issue that Axel runs into is that the monster girls are not really a thing that happens in the that happens naturally in the Under the Dazzling Skies. They start stumbling upon hot girl versions of monsters, and they don't really know where they're coming from, but they're causing trouble. We're calling them the thick variants. But they're causing trouble, and Axel he goes and has to handle the trouble, but also he ends up wooing the monster girls and having to sort of get them adjusted to society. So there is a somewhat taming element too. But yeah, Pepper does not understand property rights or personal space. Pepper being the goblin girl, and so she takes some additional taming.
Well, I wanted it, so I took it.
Yeah.
And I'm stronger than them, so it's mine now.
But there was a comment about Power World. I have not played Power World yet.
Apparently, the player base has really just died off.
Really?
The numbers have apparently dropped. I haven't looked at the most recent stats for it.
So it was popular for a week and then vanished.
Wow. Yeah, I'm not sure. I've just been playing Final Fantasy and Apex.
Same. I've been playing through Final Fantasy 16.
You've been
I get all the numbers mixed up. So
the most recent one that's not the 7 part 2.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Okay.
Jacob's
that one I actually have not gotten too far into it. I don't know what it is, but I hate Clive, the main character.
Really?
I do not like him. I think he's a whiny bitch. That's just me.
Clive was designed for the ladies. There's so much of this that, it's definitely a it's a harsh and dirty setting. It's like Game of Thrones,
brutal.
Final Fantasy.
It is brutal.
There are definitely elements of Clive's character that is they absolutely had the female players in mind when they gave him this voice or made him do this thing.
The voice actor he's great for him. I don't know what it is about his character. It just rubs me the wrong way.
Mm-hmm. How far in are you?
Huh?
How far in are you?
I just got the Shiva, is it Shiva? The wind element. I fought, which I love Sid, and I love that Sid is in every Final Fantasy game. It's just a different version of him.
That's one of my favorite elements of it too.
I think 7's version of Sid is my favorite, just because that's the one I grew up with. With Kingdom Hearts and of course Final Fantasy 7. And Final Fantasy 7 just holds a very special place in my heart. So Rebirth really is what I was looking forward to more than anything. 16, not a bad game. It's just, I don't know. It was the combat, I think, that really kind of threw me off. And the movement just didn't feel as fluid as I thought it was going to.
Yeah.
For 7, part 2 feels great. Holy hell, this game is good.
If I remember, Jacob, you didn't like the combat in the first one, but you're enjoying the combat in.
I'm enjoying the combat more. It feels it. There were just
Joel,
certain
get
aspects of Final Fantasy VII Remake's combat system that it just felt clunky to me. It just felt imprecise.
Part 1 was clunky.
And I also really appreciate that you can equip materia into your other party members to automate some of the things that they do, rather than having to constantly switch between the different party members. It's just the combat system's clicking for me a lot more this time than with the remake.
See, Joel, now you got to give 7 Part 2 a try, because come on.
Peer pressure.
Well, so I've now gone to make Cloud Strife in Baldur's Gate 3. I'm doing that. I saw a video on TikTok for a build form, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try it, and it's fun. It's really fun.
We need to pick up Baldur's Gate 3 again, Jacob. It's been forever since we played that. We just got so distracted by books.
In our copious amounts of free time.
No.
There you go. So we are going to start wrapping up the episode, just because we've gone over that hour mark where we try to keep it. We've had episodes go on for 2 hours, but I've also been up since 3 a.m. and I'm kind of tired.
Oh man, yeah, you need to rest.
Yeah, this new job is really kicking my ass.
I'm not going to say how long I've been up.
Joel, we don't want to know. It's coming up on 24 hours at this point. I already know.
You both need naps. Go nap.
What's a nap?
Yeah.
No, I don't sleep. So we have Blood Knight coming out on Thursday the 16th.
Yep.
And the audio is
imminent.
Soon-ish.
Yeah.
With that, and then we have Monster Girl Tamer coming out in May. Do we have an idea if we'll be continuing the actual Monster Punk Horizon main story? Because 3,
I plan on it. Ultimately, one of the things it's going to come down to is the sales of Tamer, and also whether they start rejuvenating the sales of Monster Punk Horizon, because it's been out for a bit now. I do want to continue it, but when it comes down to it, right now, Titan Mage and the others are keeping me in a lot of sushi. And so I prioritize the things that are selling. What I really want to do is get to the point where we're writing a backlog. From this point on, we're going to be releasing 4 books a year. And what I really want to do is get ahead enough that that I don't really have to think about, what's going to be my bestseller of the year, so that I can actually go back and do
the 14th, not the 16th. My bad.
Okay, yeah. But so that I can actually go back and do some of those projects that are a little bit smaller or have smaller audiences, because I still want to write the sequel to the Wizard's Way, which has been it's coming up on, it's been quite a while since that one came out. Okay. And I would really like to get to that one too. But basically, once I have a backlog of releases scheduled, once I've written all the books, I want to take some time and just do some of those back ones too. So I do have plans though, and what I think I may end up doing is combining the storylines.
Okay.
And so there's a whole lot of things that can happen. I do have story ideas like crazy, but ultimately writing is a business that's determined by sales. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you guys haven't already, be sure to follow Royal Guard Publishing on Twitter, or X now, I guess. I'm still always going to call it Twitter. I don't care what anyone says. And Facebook. So that way you can see when Blood Knight comes out on Audible, because they do a really good job of promoting their stuff and everything. And now with, sadly, the virtual voice aspect of Audible, everything gets buried. I don't get to look through new releases anymore because it's flooded with the virtual voice, and I can't stand it. It bugs me. But that's a topic for another time. So, but I'm excited for Blood Knight. This book is going to be absolutely bonkers, and I'm all for it. And this is one I will probably actually read before the audio comes out, just because I love your guys' work. It's really good. And I'm very, very curious to see where this one's going to go. This one sounds like right up my alley. Joel, your thoughts?
It sounds absolutely fantastic. I can't wait to get my hands on it.
And that's coming from Joel, who's not a harem guy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I listen to harems.
You listen to some.
I'm currently listening to Apocalypse Gate by
Is that Daniel Shinhofen?
Shinhofen. Yeah,
We do,
which is a harem.
Mhm.
So
No, we're really excited about Blood Knight. We think it's a very strong offering for the Edie Sky brand. It's got a lot of energy. It was just sometimes when you're writing something, everything's just clicking.
Yeah.
And that was sort of the experience with this project. And when you're enjoying yourself in the moment of writing, more often than not, that enjoyment comes out on the page.
I could see the amount of fun you were having when you wrote your drafts. Like it was just radiating off the couch.
I mean, there was like literally, I don't. There was like one part where I'm like working on the last few chapters for like book 2, and Heather was walking by the couch, and I just busted out and said, "Yeah, this is some good shit right here." And you just
I hear a lot of that when you're writing, and then you'll come in, you'll call me in to read random scenes, and they're all hilarious. Like it's one fun thing about Blood Knight is that Jacob and I generally have very different writing styles, but you emulate my writing style so well with these books that I actually didn't have to do all that much editing compared to what I expected to have to do to Edie Sky it up, quote unquote. And so yeah, it's you did good, husband.
Well, we're excited for it, and I can't wait to get my hands on a copy of this because it's just gonna be it's gonna be so damn good. I'm excited for this one.
I'm excited to see what you think about it.
It's gonna be a good one. I mean, I've always shared my thoughts with you guys on when I'm reading your stuff and everything, and I actually got one of my buddies who works at a vintage toy and collectible store. I took him my copy of the Gordian Protocol because I was like, oh, this is going to be right up his alley. And I gave him my copy because I was like, I have it on audio and I have another copy of it. So I'll just give you my little paperback copy. And he said he couldn't put it down.
Yay!
And he picked up the rest of the series.
Nice.
Goes, so how do I do this? I was like, so the Gordian or the Protocol books are going to be a little different from the, the file books.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, okay. So which ones do I continue with? I was like, oh God, let me go back and look at the episode because I just read them in release date order. That's how I did it.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine.
They're kind of 2 series within one series. So the Protocol books are the big stakes, time travel, alternate history ones. The file books are I consider them easier to read because they're more human is the wrong word, but they focus on smaller stakes.
Tighter focus.
And yeah, they have a narrower focus. You can the first 5 are written somewhat. They can be read as standalones for the most part. Now, the one that's coming out in June, it would benefit readers to have read at least to at least have read the Gordian Protocol and the Janus File.
Yeah.
Because the casts overlap.
Okay.
So we've got another one coming up in June. But yeah, so it's.
I mean,
so many projects. Oh my gosh. I
mean, even. Okay, so like the one that's coming out in June, the Thermopylae Protocol is the least standalone-ish of the series, but it can still stand on its own. But I think it is the one so far that readers who have read at least one of the other books will have a much richer experience when they go into it because it is the first time in a major sustained way that the 2 main casts get together and cooperate.
Yeah.
In order to you have the the big epic scale problem, and you have the more tightly focused police procedural problem, and both both problems need to be solved. Otherwise, a lot of people are going to have some very bad days.
Okay.
Or very, very brief existences in some cases.
Yes. It's a running theme of the Protocol books.
Well, I'm also glad that got to show nukes going off on the cover. So
I
spaceship
can't wait to
and
see the cover of it.
spaceship and time traveling warship in orbit over the moon and nukes going off on the surface.
All right. Well, we are coming up to the end of the show where we always do our little, hey, what you been reading? So I'll give it to our two guests really quickly. What have you guys been reading recently?
Well, let's see. I've got my pile here. So I was actually right before this. I started reading Clive Cussler. So I'm working through Sahara right now, and it's just, I mean, he's classic adventure bestseller. I've been reading him mostly to get in the groove for one of the upcoming Titan Mage series, which is more of a traditional adventure is the wrong term because it's got giant robots in it still, but it's that very fun, like doesn't necessarily care how realistic it is style adventure. So I've been reading Sahara and I've been loving it to death. I have also been reading, I had my my Kindle in here earlier and I think I moved it. Slice of Life, which is a pizza parlor harem by Solomon Ignis. Like the pizza is an aphrodisiac. It's crazy. I love it so much. There's so many things I've been reading, but yeah, those are my main two right now.
It's my purple bestie. You're catching the end of it. Come on.
That's what archives are for.
Yeah. No, that's her channel used to be Spooky X Ghosty, and I've always called her Spooky. I'm still gonna call her Spooky. She's my purple bestie. So
what you been reading, Jacob? Oh, sorry. I interrupted you.
So Jacob, that's all you. What's up?
So I have been reading, rereading through David Weber's Honor Harrington books. I've started at the very beginning on Basilisk Station. I got through that about halfway through Honor of the Queen, and I'm just going to be working my way through the entire series, getting myself. So probably around sometime third quarter this year, I'll be doing the detailed outlining for the first of the Saganami novels. And then either late third quarter, early fourth quarter, I'll start writing that book. And that is going to be a trilogy.
Okay.
And
you're already having a lot of fun working on it.
Oh yeah.
Planning. Yeah,
but that's a whole other podcast.
Another episode. That's the whole thing.
And very different from this too.
Yes, very different from Blood Knight. There are no succubi in the Honorverse.
All right. Since I have my purple bestie in the chat really quickly, Joel, before I throw it over to you. Hey, you know that mech harem series I was telling you about? Yeah. Author.
Hi.
author. Yeah. Go read it. Go read it. It's good.
We highly recommend the Titan Mage series.
We do recommend the Titan. I mean,
we may be a little bit.
I have a canvas of the Titan Mage series. Second
I love
book cover
so much.
I'll never forget when my mom walked into the house. I was showing her a tour of the house. She gets into the game room that is now the guest bedroom and said, "Oh," and just walked out. My dad just goes, "Why?" I was like, Grandma didn't say anything about it hanging up. This was a man cave. Now it's not.
Yeah, whenever we have family over, we have to make sure we put up the desk mats because right now we have them all over the dining room table.
I gotta order a desk. I need to order a mat.
Some of those desk mats are a little spicy for our family.
So, Joel.
Yeah.
Since you missed last week, I expect your list is probably a damn long list.
Honestly, not really.
Okay, then cool. Tell me what it is, buddy.
Like I said, I've been reading Apocalypse Gate by Daniel Shinhofen. I'm on like book 3 of that.
Which Tess or takes 4 over the narration for that one.
Yeah, Tess does that one. Well, yeah, I guess it started as Andrea Parsnow and then Tess Irondale takes over. Other than that, Defiance of the Fall book 12 just came out, so I finished that. And Omelet Endgame, the third book in Dakota Crowd's Cooking with Disaster series.
I've been wondering.
That just came out.
It's so good. It is so good.
It's fantastic. But that's pretty much it. I think I said Beware of Chicken last episode we did.
No,
I didn't.
you might have told you might have told Brian about that one, but after you joined right as I ended the
I
stream.
also have been reading Beware of Chicken.
All right.
Finally got around to that. It is worth the hype.
All right.
So, Rich, what you been reading?
For me, there we go. My screen decided to lock up for a second. That's fun. For me, I have been reading Titan Mage again. I'm on Rising right now, and I'm at a very interesting part. Sloan just learned the truth about the Doctor's secret project, so that's where I'm at.
Craziness.
Shout out to Sloan. She's such a sweetheart. Love her to death. I re-listened to Rise of Ashbob just because I needed a Kevin Sinclair book, and Cyberpunk was just hits different right now. I restarted the Pilgrim series by our good friend Harmon Cooper because the 8th book's audio just came out, and I was like, oh, what a better time. I finished Reclaimer, which is the 3rd book in Arise, and I went through the 1st book of The World of Chains by Lars McMuller, and I picked up a new book from Aethon Publishing called Mythica Revenant, and it is also narrated by Tess Irondale. So I got a little dose of Tess just because she's such a good narrator. She really is. I love her work. She's fantastic. And when I saw the cover the advertisement, it gave me Castlevania vibes. Mm-hmm. It's I don't know if it's Castlevania vibes yet, but it's pretty cool. But that's what I've been reading, and it's a good time. Audiobooks are really helping me get through some very, very long days. Mm-hmm. Long days. But that's really my list right now. My TBR just got bigger because I received my copy of Path of the Titans Book 2 by Timothy McGowan, and the audiobook for that one comes out on the 26th, I think, and it's narrated by Daniel Wisniewski, and I can't wait to read that. I can't wait for Blood Knight to come out so I can read that. That's going to be such a fun read. And I think that's really about it. I don't really have a lot of pre-orders up right now. I'm just trying to get through the backlog of everything. So
the eternal problem.
Well, Ray, hey, Titan Mage has 5 audiobooks, so go get them. They're good. And it's dual cast. So, But that brings us to the end of the show. Please tune in on the 24th. I had to look at the calendar just to make sure. On the 24th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, because we will be joined by David North and possibly one of his narrators, who is also a very, very popular returning guest, Mr. Zachary Johnson, who narrates his Rivers of Fate series. That's really about all I have booked that I can announce right now, just because I got to verify some dates before we keep going. But we got some fun episodes in the works. And we got some Legion episodes coming up because Legion they're just so nice to let us stream in their Facebook group. So thank you to the Legion.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Publishing group, Geneva and Jez. We love you guys. You guys are fantastic. And thank you for everyone who tuned in. Let's give our guests a light clap, because I don't want to blow out the eardrums of people listening. So,
yes,
Jacob,
you are our backbone.
Thank you so much.
Oh,
you guys were awesome.
Thank you for
Congratulations on the release for Blood Knight. It's going to be such a fun time. I can already feel it. And you already wrote 3 books?
Yes.
Yep. 3 of the 5.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I'll probably finish book 5 sometime, probably around August, I think.
August 8th. That's my birthday. So
you have a goal, Jacob. You have a deadline.
Let's do it. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Don't pressure yourself.
4 and 5 are getting published next year. I have plenty of.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
You're good. You're good.
But I once I get through, finish editing number 3, then do 4 and 5, and then I'm switching over to the Honorverse stuff. So I'll be with the hardcore military sci-fi for a bit there.
That's gonna be a switch up.
Oh yeah.
But for everyone, thank you guys for tuning in. This has been Chat and Stats, and we hope you have a wonderful night.
Bye.